Hi everyone, myself Rachna from 6MB Plan. It's my pleasure to welcome all the participants today for this webinar. First, I would like to welcome our HOD ma'am, Dr. Gayatri Aditya, to this webinar. I welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to welcome all the faculty as a part of this webinar. I would like to welcome uh, all the students who are present in this webinar. And now the webinar is going to held on a role of GIS in planning and country.
We are not able to hear anything.
Rachna, can I start then?
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes, Rachna, please continue.
Sorry, ma'am. I lost connection. Now, I would like to welcome our speaker, Professor Anit Jesse, ma'am, to share knowledge on role of GIS in town and country planning.
Thank you, Rachna. Let me share the slide so that I'll talk more about the presentation and go ahead. Okay. Good morning, everybody. This is Assistant Professor Anil Chessy from Nitte School of Architecture, Planning Department. So today I'll be talking about the applications of GIS with respective to town and country planning. So my presentation today will be focusing more on the applications of GIS with respective to our planning. So it's spatial planning. So let me go ahead with the presentation. Okay. To come and give you an intro of what is GIS, GIS is basically a feature which is using data, and it organizes, it manages and analyzes the data. Through GIS, we can actually understand the existing features and the spatial locations. So the data which I'm talking about can be created or is in present in kind of like qualitative, quantitative, or spatial data. So GIS is acting as a framework for gathering the information, and so it also creates a database and a toolbox in which you can actually work on and create multiple maps. The GIS is in GIS you have different components which is mainly playing a key role. So they are databases, software, hardware, network, and people who are involved in GIS. So these are components which are involved in GIS, through which you will be finally analyzing and doing all kind of research at that works, and then finally gaining the output. So in order to make this perform, the GIS actually helps in also connecting and performing studies. So when I am doing my study, it also helps me better in sharing the information and also providing the solution as such. So when I talk about a database, databases are data which is shared in GIS are basically vector data, raster data, and TIL. So vector data is something which you can say as the features that are available in terms of points, segments, or polygons. Raster data is simple data which can be in the form of grids. So the spatial appearance is what we are talking about. And the tin is something which we are using it in ArcMap and other GIS mapping software. So they are showing the elevation basically. So tin is otherwise briefly called as triangulation irregular network. So when I say GIS is performing, gathering the information, storing the information, and then organizing, and then also helps in digitizing it. In order to visualize all the performance of the GIS, we need mapping software. So whatever is using GIS as a basic source of information for mapping is called GIS mapping software. There are n number of mapping softwares available which anybody can use, and few of them are paid versions and the rest are unpaid versions. So like QGIS, you are eligible to work on few limits of unpaid and things. So there are ArcGIS and Map Info, OpenStreetMap, which always uses GIS data, and they are available online for anybody to use. So this is again collecting the information in terms of vector and raster, and they are storing the information in a folder basically called geodatabase, through which you do analysis and therein you get converted into all the map systems. Okay. GIS, when I simply say GIS and its application, in urban planning, in town and country planning, GIS is mainly used in all sort of analysis right from the beginning of doing a study of a study area. So if I have to, I will be briefly explaining the processes involved in making a development plan as such, and also whatever is involved in making the study of urban planning. So in that, if I have to say, the GIS is applied in almost all features, right from the topography analysis, the selection of the study area, and doing analysis on the sectors like infrastructure analysis, and also helps in resource inventories. Resource inventories are something wherein you are providing the community overview or listing its features and services available, and this is restricted to the targeted population. So this kind of resource inventory of a compilation of the services is available, which we can do using GIS. And when I say raster data and vector data, they are all representing the temperature, elevation, and vector data, which is representing rivers and roads. They can be used and they can be helping us in the watershed analysis, in network analysis, in measuring the spatial Earth spatial area as well. So these are some of the applications of GIS in urban planning. Okay, so basically GIS is helpful in for the planners in extracting the information and from the database, which is available readily in GIS, and that can be helping us in solving the spatial queries. And also when we look into the processing of data which is available, the geospatial data is processed through the available satellite imagery or the aerial photogrammetry, which is available, aerial photography. and then the remote sensors, which are giving us a great way of understanding and a detailed perspective of the infrastructure. So it also helps the planners in making the better of maps, and it also helps us in making the thematic mappings. Thematic mappings, when it calls about the urban planning, and we are almost concerned about understanding different theme of the earth surfaces. So we use land use. We wanted to study more about the suitability of the land. So we give different uses, and that's how it actually helps us in understanding. Okay. The GIS also helps us in performing spatial analysis, which is otherwise called as geoprocessing function. The geoprocessing functions has map overlay, connectivity measurement, and the network analysis, or else we can say the buffering, which is being involved in the area. These are some of the applications of geoprocessing functions which are helped in the GIS by GIS. So GIS is a solution for even brownfield development. So when I say brownfield, the land which is completely contaminated, it can also be assessed, and its future land use is also considered, and its interest is created, and that's how we can also give a solution of future possibilities of land. It helps in zoning again the land, and making it useful, or redevelopment is what we can say using GIS. When we talk about specially planning forum, the different fields or the specializations in town and country planning are regional planning, infrastructure, environmental assessment, socio-economic development. So all these GIS information, the spatial information which are available are helpful in helping in each of these specializations. When we come and talk about the regional, it talks about the regional allocation of resources or regional connectivity. The in terms of infrastructure, we can talk about the provision of water supply, sanitation, sewerage, and whatnot. Both the physical and the social infrastructure, the availability of services, the spatially available services, and how it is briefly connected with one another. The environmental assessment is something which we can understand based on the degradation of water bodies, the exploitation of the resources which is available. The growth in urbanization results in increase in urban heat islands. So all these are something which we can understand spatially using GIS. Okay, so why GIS is helping most of the urban planners? So it actually helps us to address the issue. It helps us in preparing the strategic action plan. Planning professionals, though we are expertise in technically, the understanding of the information which is provided in terms of spatial representation help us to make a better plan. So GIS is also used in smart city plan projects. In smart city projects, GIS is helpful in geospatial data analysis, which is talking more about the distance and directional analysis, or the geometrical processing and the grid models which is created. It is also helpful in understanding the spatio-temporal analysis. It is helpful in making spatial statistics, gathering the information and understanding it based on the correlation and the regression process which has been taken care of. It also helps in surface analysis, like interpolation method, and the location analysis, which gives you more information of which is the closest or the nearby facility, the serviceable area which is can be assessing all those things. So along with the GIS, the integration of GIS with the design tools can also make an adds value, and it has actually improving the functionalities. When I say integration, the integration might be with the building information modeling for a particular building, or structure, it will result in a better analysis of stability or the cost estimation or the capabilities or how much is the workforce that is needed. All in terms of GIS is so comfortable that it can be integrated with other softwares as well. Okay, when we talk about the applications of GIS in the development process, basically in urban planning, the word which we use is spatial analysis and spatial modeling. So in spatial analysis and in spatial modeling, we are using it in different categories, right from the site selection, in order to identify the areas for doing planning or development plan, and also understanding its interaction with another community, the land use transport modeling, impact assessment, as I already told you, land suitability analysis to find out which land is suitable or if the land is suitable for the particular proposal that we are giving. So all these are done by interpolation or map overlaying or buffering or connectivity measurement, all these things. These are applications of GIS. So basically today I would like to explain more about GIS, or I take an opportunity to showcase the work of our planning students of 2017 batch. They have worked on preparing a development plan, a sub-city development plan of one of the place in Bangalore. So it is administratively called as Jayanagar Planning District. So I will be briefing about the case study on Jayanagar Planning District, but I'll be also mostly focusing on the GIS and its impact on what it has given on preparing the maps for our development plan. So, okay, I would like to brief you before even going to the study area about the process of making a development plan. And while making a development plan in town and country planning, so we make it for region, we make it for village, we make it for city. It is different. So studying or delineating the area itself is the biggest task, and we cannot randomly choose any study area as such. So in order to delineate an area, we will have a study, and there you also have to see the GIS application and resource inventory, which I already told you. It is showcasing the actual features of the earth surface or understanding or shows an overview of the study area. And then we have to go ahead and analyze the existing situation. So once it is all done, we accordingly to the setup of aims and objectives, we make the projection and we make the modeling. Projection as in we do projection for the demography, economy, because any development plan that we prepare is not for the present 5 year or 1 year. It's going to be a long lasting plan for next 20 years. So it is very much important that we are doing projection, and whatever development or whatever proposal which we are giving should focus on the future aspect as well. So once we are done with all those things, we are considering all the possible development options, planning options, and then once it's done, the report is being done, and the analysis and the proper proposals and everything is given. Finally, it reaches the stage of an implementation, and then you go after the evaluation for the next 20 years. So this is basically an overview of how a development plan is actually functioning. So coming back to Jayanagar Planning District. In Jayanagar Planning District, we used GIS and GIS mapping software like ArcMap, which is being offered by S3, and QGIS. These are softwares, and then the data which we have got is mostly from OpenStreet availability data, and Karnataka GIS Geographical Information System, which gives us enough data of the available services and the proportional available services till date. So with these available data, we have used it in different functionalities, right from the preparation of base map, the preparation of land use, and also in making thematic maps, which is of different themes like water supply. If it is need for water supply, we make it for required like that. If it's needed for transportation, we make the base map accordingly. So once it is done, we do an analysis of the existing availability features, and we find the gap of the existing features. And you'll also make a study or an inference of which if it is okay and having the enough existing facilities, or if we have to provide enough, or what is the issue that the people are facing, and what can be made in order to make it sustainable. So Jayanagar Planning District. So if you can see this map very clearly, the map itself, uh, it shows you the location of Jayanagar Planning District. So Jayanagar Planning District is in the core of Bangalore metropolitan area. It is to the south of Shivaji Nagar, and on the west you can see Koramangalam. So it is very popular, and this planning district is now home to uh, multicultural and mixed land use. So why we have chosen is that, like, delineation, what I have told you about delineation, the delineation part is the important sector in which we have started the analysis with. So the Jayanagar planning district itself had a very important or interesting part. It was a residential planned neighborhood. It was completely a planned residential neighborhood. But now, in the year 2019, we could see almost all the land uses are into commercial and information technology. So it has transformed into a hub of information technology and commercial centers. So why did we end up choosing Jayanagar Planning District? We did an initial study of understanding, sub-centers are centers which are acting as a secondary nodes of the CBD, which is mainly called a Central Business District, which has a capability of functioning on its own in terms of employment and other sectors. So this study, the Bangalore Metropolitan Plan, the Bangalore Master Plan, which was prepared, had proposed about 9 sub-centers, of which we have chosen Jayanagar Planning District mainly because of considering certain parameters. So the parameters would be the administrative boundaries, the population considerations, the physical features, and the natural and the environmental features. Although it's a planning district, it is not
Am I audible? So the base map contains mostly about the transportation network, the important features of the available study area, the water bodies, the location of facilities, which is the physical features, which is very much important. And those are present in the base map. And you also have the road network. So the transportation network map, which was prepared using ARC map 10.4, shows us mostly the hierarchical order in the road transport system. So this road transport system helped in understanding how much percentage of roads are given for Jayanagar planning district. So the transportation itself has nearly got into like about 16.55% of the entire land uses. So then we understood, okay, right now we'll have to prepare the land use map. So the existing land use map was not there for the year 2019. It was prepared by the students and the faculty together. So they worked on it by doing the initial study area survey, and they had to go ahead and georeference all the satellite imageries from the Google Earth software, wherein they georeference it, they clip it, they match it, and then understand the urban population growth, the change in the land use, a trend that they understood, and thereafter they will be able to. We had been able to make the land use map of 2019. So this land use map, which was prepared, helped us in understanding more on the changes of land use category. Like in when it comes to residential, we could see there is a high reduction of percentage, about 6% loss of residential area, and there could we found an increase of about 4% in a mixed residential category. So this is how we understood. Okay, the Jayanagar planning district, the study on Jayanagar planning district and the land use actually proved why it has an increase of commercial centers and a decrease in the residential sectors. And when we come to transportation, a transportation sector from 12% in 2010 had found an increase of about 17% in 2019. So the reduction in the vacant land obviously is an acceptable truth, wherein we could see from 5% it is 1.9% is reduced. So the water body remains the same from the year 2010 and 2019. There was no encroachment, and the existing water body is still available. These are things which we have understood from the available or prepared land use map for 2019. Then we wanted to study the economy generation or the economy activity of Jayanagar planning district, because all we know is the commercial sector and the industrial sector is what is dominating in Jayanagar planning district, because we could see a reduction in the residential areas. Now, when we did this study on mapping the location of industrial and the primary sectors, the tertiary sectors, the secondary sectors, all the services, the public building, and all those things on map spatially, we could see clusters which you can see on the map right now. All these buffer zones which we have created are high in commercial and the public uses as such. So we can see a Sancho, we can see good colleges and universities which are present over there, and there are IT parks which is playing a major important role. So when we compare the percentage, or when we understood the study of economy which is generated in the Jayanagar planning district, almost 48% was contributed from commercial sector, and the remaining 35%, the next dominant one was from the public and the semi-public. So these are something, and the industries occupied about 15%. So when we talk about the major economic force driver, it is the tertiary sector which is involved. And next we had an opportunity, or we would like to map and see the existing facilities or the existing social infrastructure facilities on map. So this map completely shows about the location of hospitals, the schools, colleges, the universities, the ATM facilities, the libraries, the police station location, fire station, and the park location and everything. So once we located the exact location of all the features, infrastructure facilities, we then tried to work on the spatial analysis, which we call as network analysis. So when I speak about network analysis, there are 6 kinds of network analysis which can be done using the ArcGIS software. Out of which all the 6 analysis uses different parameters, like in the route analysis layer, the closest facility analysis, the service area analysis, the vehicle routing problem analysis, the location and location analysis. So we would like to really understand more on the service area that it provided, because as per URDPFI guidelines, which is a guideline we used to follow for the facilitating the services, the number of services available in Jayanagar planning district was almost satisfactory, and it is enough. But when we considered or when we wanted to do a study and understand if it is equally or spatially distributed, there we found the issue. let me take you through what we have understood. So this is a map which maps about the schools and colleges location. So there are areas which are left untouched, either in the left corner or in the here this area. All these are areas which are less serviceable. So this map actually did network analysis and showed the people who could travel in less than 10 minutes or in less than or equal to about 15 minutes, and which the next tint color, it shows you the time it takes more than 25 minutes. So all these are the time it takes. So the service time it takes is differing, and there are few areas where you have no facilities as well. So this was taken into consideration. Similarly, we had the consideration of hospitals as well. So all these areas which are left untouched, on we this area on top, and the ward which was developed is almost having no hospital facilities and medical facility, which is very much important for at least the preliminary medication or the first aid. You could see almost most of the area are untouched, or they are not being provided, spatially not satisfied by medical shop. So it means the major centers or the important functionalities of the area does have these features. So when we compared all these facilities with the existing land use map which we have prepared, we could understand, okay, there is a certain necessity of not providing the hospitals or medical facilities in near this industrial area, this commercial zones. So when I said medical shops, all these areas are mostly industrial area where you don't find medical shops. So this is how we understood the relation between the provision of facility of social infrastructure as well as the land use map. So network analysis is carried out basically by using the road networks as the major primary data, and of which then you will understand it by the location of the services, with which we will be we have worked on the analysis basically with the road networks, the available services as well as the land use. Together we prepared the network analysis. So this was done for social infrastructure. When we went to understand more about the solar power consumption and the solar utilization resources, all this dark high coverage had about only 0.2% of investment, and then the lesser one has 0.1. So this actually shows us the exact scenario of how much is being consumed, the natural energy. And then we also gave thought to this available study of sewerage and the drainage system. So almost it was good to see that almost 94% of them had a closed drainage system, and they weren't facing any kind of damage because of the drainage system. But it was only 3.8% considered to be an open drainage system. And yes, we had taken into consideration and we prepared a report to address the issue as well. So this is again the open spaces. So the map which shows you right here is about the availability of water supply. So water supply, the source of water supply for Jayanagar is piped completely. So it is Kaveri water supply, so the tap water supply is the major source of water being supplied to this area, and it is almost 97% of the households are are having an efficient treated water supply. So the sewerage lines which is passing along with the entire Jayanagar planning district is about 420.5 kilometers. Um, so the availability of a sewerage, water supply, and everything is fine. But it is when we compared or when we studied using the spatial analysis, we could understand that the facilities are not served spatially. So for in which we gave a necessary proposal of locating the new services in the available area. So this is how we have done our study, and I end the presentation now with just giving you a brief idea of what or how can GIS be helpful in urban planning. There are still n number of facilities which can be done using GIS facilities. Currently, the hotspot analysis is one which has been highly used using GIS. Now, during COVID situation, we could always people are making maps to understand better which area is high or highly prone to COVID infection as such. So these are something which we can also use in order to understand the efficacy of the pandemic. So GIS is used in n number of field and functionalities. Thank you. This is Anit. Any questions?
Yeah, now the floor is open for questions. So, Anit, I have a question in that network analysis.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you go to that sheet? So, what is the criteria on the selection, uh, process, or what is the basis of your selection? So, when I'm saying it's only like if I'm talking of hospitals, is it only the road, Pakka road on which the ambulance can go? Can you give such kind of a setting, which means to say the road width has to be so much? And then you tell us which is the nearest hospital and things like that. Does your analysis take to that level of a detail?
Ma'am, it is about we have considered not about the vehicle, but we actually went and we wanted to discuss more about the walkability distance. So, how long does it take for a person to reach the minimum? Because it is all considered during an emergency situation. So, what if an emergency you don't get a vehicle? If it's a vehicle, then it's fine. But if you don't get a vehicle by walk, how long does it take? So that's how we have considered the village roads as well, doing an analysis. But yes, we always have a provision of specifically designing it accordingly using the vehicle type and the mode of transport as well. So the hierarchical of road system can be maintained.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, ma'am. I also like to tell now that we have Nusrat from the fifth semester who has also been a part in making this development plan. Is it only Nusrat who's there in the forum or everybody else? I think Nusrat, you can also speak about Jayanagar Planning District just in case if you wanted to say something.
No, ma'am, it's like you've covered almost everything. What all work we have done from the start of making up our base map and then coming up with the land use existing and the proposed land use. So yeah.
But it would be helpful for your juniors as well if you can say how GIS or the software which helped in doing all these kind of analysis. How did that actually help?
Okay. So if to start with, when we had like our land use surveys done in Jayanagar planning district, so we had almost visited all the 10 wards of the district, and like we had divided ourselves well, and it was a complete teamwork. We almost spent like 3 days for the survey on the field, and we had like it was like planned that we would be doing the land use survey and simultaneously also work over how to go and talk and interact with people, because it is more important to understand how are they going over these issues and their challenges. So when we were like going over these areas of like Siddhapura, so there are the 10 wards included Siddhapura, which had one of the slums. located there. So we had a good interaction with them, and we also understood that there are two narrow roads. So if you could see, Gayatri ma'am had just asked the question about how well are these like ambulances to pass over these roads. So if you are considering this a ward of Siddhapura, which has a very narrow road, you will not find it very easy for the for an ambulance to go over. Even not even a Maruti Omni, which is sometimes turned out to be an ambulance, even that cannot pass over these roads. So all these things is so the network analysis which was done by Akshata. She considered only the walkability distance. Looking at the scenario that was there in this district, she took the walkability distance into consideration for that. So that's how it happened. And then when once we finished with our land use survey for almost 3 days, along with few of the household surveys, we came up with. Then we sat down and went over the satellite imagery, and we literally sat down and we have digitized each and every feature over the satellite imagery to come up with that land use and the road maps which you've seen in the presentation by ma'am. So it's it seems to be like very complicated, but when you are working on GIS, it is very important that you start looking into various videos which are available online. We have too many tutorials online, and even if you have any of the, it is basically like whatever you want to work, you just have to put down on YouTube, like this is what I want. If you want to learn network analysis, you need to put down that and you will get it. So it's just you don't have it. It looks very complicated, but the process is really very easy. If you want to learn it, it is easy to go with. And if anyone is interested, you can definitely contact me for all the YouTube channels and there are so many journal papers written by ISRI itself who have told the procedure of making land use map, land cover map, base map, then thematic maps, even how to go with the network analysis. All these there are complete journals by ISRI itself. The one ARC map we use, they themselves have one complete set of journals which can be used. It is available for free online. So if anyone would definitely need, I would share that with you. So this is how it is. Anything else to be asked, you can definitely ask me.
So just to add on to Nusrat and Aneth here, generally for a hospital, how far do you think walkable consideration at all is good? For a school, neighborhood school, I definitely understand. But
Yes,
hospital, you never, even if it is in the next door, I need to find a ambulance to go through it.
yes,
Right. So situation can be anything where they have to be picked up. So network analysis. I mean, I don't know. Maybe have you seen anybody doing for a hospital? So these things, where the logic has to be applied, has to be looked into, or like minimum criteria which has to be selected for what kind of, sector or building typology we are designing this for has to be understood in that context.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
okay, ma'am.
rightly said. Is there any other question which we should address now?
Let's close it now.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Professor Anit Jassi ma'am to sharing your valuable knowledge on role of GIS in town and country planning. And thank you all the faculty and students for being a part of this webinar and making it successful. I would like to thank our HOD ma'am, Dr. Gayatri Aditya, for making this webinar successful. Thank you one and all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Anit.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Bye.
Anand.
Thank you, ma'am.
It was a nice.
Thank you. Thank you.